Welcome back to another weekly recap for the 2023 Prep Series. Today we will be recapping 7 weeks out from my next show. And thankfully, over the past week, kind of got all of the wrinkles ironed out in terms of what shows we'll be doing next that align with my work schedule and my scheduled daytime off for those upcoming shows. And if you are just tuning in for the first time, ultimately had wanted to do the USBF United States Championship, which was a pro-am, but ultimately the organization had postponed that show for this year. So it kind of put a wrinkle into the plans. And then also I did compete in the INBF WNBF Phoenician Classic. And at that show, unfortunately, didn't qualify for WNBF Worlds. So the two shows I had scheduled for early November, neither of them ultimately would work out with qualifications. And then obviously that show getting postponed or canceled. So we had to pivot from there. But before we get into the tentative show list, I just wanted to touch on a couple of things in terms of the nutrition for last week, activity levels, and the kind of prep going forward and how we'll structure that now being about 6 weeks out and 8 weeks out for my next two shows, and then have some personal stuff to cover in terms of I got very sick on Friday, but we'll delve into that in just a moment here. Gonna throw up the last 2 weeks of nutrition on screen for you guys, and we'll run through that. And one thing I touched on last week is post-show. I definitely did binge, my first time binging on prep for the probably 35 weeks that we've been prepping. Ultimately, you'll see kind of the caloric totals there on screen. The 17th, under the 7 weeks out, would have been show day for the INBF Phoenician Classic. So some of those carb numbers and food obviously coming from the carb up pre-stage and stuff. And then did my best to kind of prioritize getting a lot of protein in to feel satiated. But this deep into prep, you can go off the rails very easy. And ultimately I made that mistake. Should have been more focused on hydrating well, which was probably the reason why I was so hungry, but got a lot of good food in. Ultimately, that is behind us now. And then the next day, the 18th, we had an 8-hour layover in Las Vegas. So I was kind of on airport food, so did my best there, and then slowly kind of reeled it in for the rest of the week. So caloric totals for the week coming at 251 protein, 381 carb, and 100 fat, or 3,400 calories. And then weekly average weight came in at 196.23, up 2.2 pounds from the previous week. Obviously with the previous week being peak week and heavy depletion, and then the start of the carb up, expected that week to be a bit lower. So I'm not ultimately too concerned with that 2.2 pounds gained in average weight. And ultimately going forward for nutrition, we'll still be continuing the diet break for another week. And that'll look like essentially, forget what the exact macros are, but roughly 230 protein, 300 carb, and 80 fat, or roughly 2,800 calories. You'll see the exact macros up on screen. And a big reason for continuing that diet break is ultimately on Friday. Forget what day it would have been exactly date-wise, but Friday evening, I spiked a fever, topping out in the 102s, and just felt like absolute death, and was running a fever from Friday night into about Saturday afternoon. And then from there, thankfully, the fever has kind of subsided since then. I ultimately didn't train at all on Saturday, didn't do my cardio, which ultimately missing that training session was the first time in prep missing a training session, then also missing a cardio session, same thing. So first time in 35 weeks, but I know the general rule of thumb for training when sick is if the sickness is from your throat and above, or your neck and above. So you just have like a head cold and a headache, you're good to go for training. But if it's anything neck and below, so if you have severe chest pains, like a heavy cough, you have stomach aches or diarrhea or a fever, that tends to be when you don't want to train. And kind of speaking on those different sicknesses, definitely have had a sore throat. And then also, yesterday did have, well, I should say Saturday and Sunday, had some diarrhea and just in general a bit of stomach distress overall with digestion. So really the focus for me and the priority these next couple of days is to get healthy first and foremost, and then from there we can make those nutritional adjustments. But being as lean as I am for as long as I have been, definitely puts my immune system in a compromised state. So if I'm not able to train and stuff, that obviously is going to derail a lot of prep progress. So main priority is getting healthy, and then as we need to, we'll dig ultimately harder in these last few weeks of prep. And with that being said, for training and nutrition, with missing my normal Saturday session, then taking a rest day for Sunday this week, we'll have a Monday, will just be a lower body session with missing my Saturday session. And then Tuesday will be a full upper session. And then we'll kind of get back on track with things. I'll do my cardio and arms on Wednesday, and then transition into another lower body day on Thursday, finish out the week upper body Friday, and then kind of go from there and reassessing next week how we're feeling. And then in terms of cardio changes, I will show you guys now, but did pick up just a 8-pound weighted vest that we'll be wearing going forward, to help increase the intensity of the step counts. And then kind of debating this week, I probably won't wear it for my structured cardio, but in the future we'll probably throw that in as another tool in the toolbox. But with the weighted vest, obviously gonna increase your output requirements for getting those steps in, and also can help increase your heart rate, which is going to be good for getting up into that like zone 2 area, which has seemed to be like the trend or the golden number as of late for fat loss. So that kind of caps things for training and cardio. And then lastly, transitioning from the incline treadmill, we will be actually transitioning over to doing the elliptical instead. I'm still gonna do 20 minutes. Big priority for me is keeping intensity high there, but ultimately the elliptical has like zero impact, which I've noticed for my calves. And then just also like the shin splints that I'll get from training heavy legs. I have noticed that on the incline treadmill, if I get pacing wise too high, that does have somewhat of an effect on me. So with the elliptical, in addition to getting some more upper body movement in terms of the like, I forget what you call them, I guess the rowing with the arms up top, and that movement, and then also the like no impact, should be great for recovery wise. And just one of the machines that I can have a bit more intensity with, so keep my numbers down in terms of total cardio with still a good caloric burn in terms of that 200 average. So what we'll kind of do is do 20 minutes structured cardio, same as the treadmill, but just switching over to the elliptical going forward. And then I will throw up posing footage for you guys as we kind of go through my next shows. And bear with me, the physique is definitely holding a bit of water, but overall happy with how I've managed these last few days being super sick. really prioritizing like fruit and as much easy carbs as I can while still hitting my protein numbers and stuff, and kind of managing nutrition and body weight to the best of my abilities. So you'll see that physique on screen. And then for the two shows that we'll be doing to kind of cap out the 2023 prep will be the NPC Midwest Gladiators in Chicago, Illinois. And ultimately, the reason behind that is it fell on that November 4th date, the same as the USBF United States Championship. And with me traveling up north, I will get to compete in front of my family, which is awesome. And I haven't been able to do it all this year. So kind of a blessing in disguise there, where my brothers will be able to come out and see me compete, maybe my grandparents and my mother, which is just always awesome. And with competing, it's not something I plan on doing every year, every other year, even for that matter. So really be cool to compete in front of the family, even with it being an untested show. Still going to do my best and show up with a, I would say, winning worthy physique. And we'll be able to compete in the novice classes and then also bodybuilding, kind of crossover between classic physique and men's open bodybuilding. So really looking forward to getting a ton of stage time in at that show as well. And then lastly, the NPC Midwest Gladiators will be 6 weeks out as of the time of recording this. And then at 8 weeks out, we will be doing the Ben Wieters Natural Pro-Am. That is a tested show within the NPC. And ultimately, they do give out some IFBB Pro cards for overall class winners. So for say classic physique, the overall winner will get a pro card. For bodybuilding, the overall winner will get a pro card, and that is more of a tentative show. I just want to make sure that I get back on my feet in terms of the sickness within probably the next week at the latest before kind of committing to that show, just to make sure that I can bring a competitive physique. Sickness is definitely one of the things that can really derail progress and throw off your physique quickly, especially being in such a deficit. But yeah, I know this is going to be a lengthy weekly recap, but I'm definitely feeling a bit better. Just trying to get on my feet. Hopefully here, going to get a meal in and then go get a light training session in. Just keep intensity a bit lower, see how we're feeling with the first training session back, and just kind of take things day by day and prep at this point. But as always, I really do appreciate you guys watching. If you did get any value out of this video, definitely leave a like, subscribe to the channel for future content, and be on the lookout for the INBF WNBF Venetian Classic peak week content, and then also the show day video coming soon. Just waiting on the professional footage and gonna do my best to get stuck into editing that. But as always,